You know, you're not a real musician unless you do concert band. You're not a real musician unless you do orchestra, unless you do wind ensemble, unless you do jazz band. You're not a real musician if you don't practice 6 hours a day. Yeah, I pay like $200 a week for lessons. That's what makes a real musician. I started music when I was like 3. That's when all the real musicians start. He can't read music? He's not a real musician. You're not a real musician if you don't listen to classical music. You're not a real musician if you don't listen to jazz. You haven't learned piano? You're not a real musician if you haven't learned piano. You never did All-State in high school? Every real musician does that. And your band never did BOA? Yeah, I spent like $5,000 on my instrument and setup. You're not a real musician if you don't. You know you're not a real musician unless you can play all of your scales perfectly. Unless you can play all of your rudiments perfectly. You don't have the Arbit's books? Okay, you're not a real musician unless you have those. You're not a real musician unless you can sight read perfectly. You're not a real musician until you've had a solo. Until you've written a composition. Until you've conducted a piece. Oh, hold on. Electronic music? No, you're not a real musician. Come on, unless you have these 4 tuner apps and 5 metronome apps, you're not a real musician. You're really not a musician unless you spend 14 hours a day in the music building. You're not a real musician unless you have perfect pitch. You don't know music theory? Okay. You're still in marching band? And pep band? No, that's not being a musician. You're not a real musician if you do drum corps. What, you're telling me you can't transpose this on the spot? Dude, it's not a drummer, it's a percussionist. Let's be real musicians here. You're not a real musician unless you can play more than one instrument. Not a real musician unless you're a music major. Or if you can't improv. You read those guitar tabs online instead of actual sheet music? Alright man, that's not really being a real musician. Okay, look, you're not a real musician unless... Okay, so the majority of things you just heard were actual things people have been told in regards to being a musician. So, according to this logic, you're only a musician if you can afford expensive equipment and lessons, if you're classically trained, and if you go to school for music. No. You know what I think a real musician is? Someone who's truly passionate about music no matter what they play. Someone who's inspired by music. Someone who makes music because it makes them happy. You don't need to be a prodigy. You don't need to know absolutely everything there is to know. You don't need to spend every dollar you have on fancy stuff. And you know, not everyone reads music. Some people learn to play by ear, by reading tabs, or just by watching someone else. Maybe because they never had the opportunity to be formally trained. Maybe because it's just what makes sense to them. Yes, these things can be helpful, but by no means do they affect your heart or your integrity as a musician. Doesn't matter if you play a wind instrument, a string instrument, a drum kit, your own voice, or even if you're making rhythms and beats on a computer program. It doesn't matter if your place is on a stage or in a concert hall, on a football field or in a gymnasium, or in a coffee house, or just on the sidewalk or whatever. What really matters is that you're doing something you love in a way that you can express yourself, and hopefully in a way that can inspire others too. And you know, if anybody tells you otherwise, okay, maybe don't do that. Thanks for checking this video out, you guys. It was one that I've wanted to make for a while now, actually. I thought about asking you guys to comment with things people have told you that qualifies a real musician, but I feel like that would just kind of be a downer. So instead, I want you guys to leave a comment telling me how you got started with music, and what inspires you as a musician. It could be a teacher you had, a song, album, or artist that you really like, a concert you went to, anything like that. For me, I started music with clarinet in the 4th grade, and my inspiration comes from performing for big crowds and audiences, DCI and WGI, and also from getting to help others. Speaking of WGI, this coming season is my age out with Atlantic Quest Indoor Drumline, and I could really use some help with the fees. If you'd like to make a donation, I have the link to my GoFundMe in the description. Any amount helps, and I'd really appreciate it. Wristbands are still for sale while supplies last. The link to my online store is also in the description, along with my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram, so make sure you hit me up on those. It just kind of hit me that I look really hipster right now. Good. DCI Open Class in 2 minutes will be coming soon, as well as some more fun videos, but until then, I will see you guys later. Subscribe.